Hello and welcome to another edition of AttractWell Office Hours. I'm Coach Ashley, joined today by founder of AttractWell, Greg Kilwine. Hey, Greg.
Hey everyone, really good to hear again today.
We're excited to have you here today. We're going to be talking about onboarding your clients. We're going to be talking about using automations to do so, and also different features in AttractWell that facilitate automation. So if you are new here, welcome. We're excited to have you. This is a call that is free to anyone that's looking to work smarter, not harder in their business. If you're a coach, if you're a service provider, if you sell your knowledge or your stuff online, this is a great opportunity for you to learn about a platform that can simplify your life and business. And of course, if you are an AttractWell community member, you're going to learn how to dig in a little deeper into how you can use our features to make your business move. Today, we had a request from a member of our community who is moving over from a couple of different platforms, who's wanting to streamline what onboarding looks like in AttractWell for a mentorship program. So if you're someone who maybe has a membership that you're setting up, if you have a program where you maybe have a not necessarily extensive, but potentially so, process of how you want to get someone started, maybe a series of agreements and different steps you want someone to follow in sequential order. You're going to love this here today. So we're going to kind of get into what all of those options look like in AttractWell, and based on our community members' certain situation, I will be giving some very specific recommendations. And of course, we'll have space here on the call to discuss how this might differ for where you're coming from and what you are working on. So let me see here real quick if I see Tasha on here yet. I don't see you yet, Tasha. If you're here and under a different name, maybe pop your hand up for me. So today we're going to be talking about using different features to create automation in your business. We'll be talking about the automations feature itself a little bit in AttractWell as well. We do have a sort of conditional response and bundling of different actions feature called automations on our platform, but there's lots of other cool ways to automate with us. So we've got some slides to get into here today, and of course we'll get into some discussion as well on our call here. So just real quick, I want to see if I'm missing any communication here. Hopefully she'll be joining us here shortly. All right. I'm going to get out of video as is Greg, and we're going to get into these slides that I've prepared for you guys today. We'll get the show on the road. We've got a lot to discuss here. Again, welcome. Thrilled to have you here as always. We're live every Thursday at 2 p.m. US Eastern Time. Today, we're talking about streamlining your client onboarding with AttractWell. We're going to focus on using features that enable automation as well as our actual named feature called automations. So we're going to talk about a very specific use case that is onboarding clients into a monthly mentorship program. We'll also discuss what it looks like based on your unique features for what you've put together, how you can map out, plan, and then ultimately set up those onboarding systems in AttractWell. I'll show you how to do this if you are a more visual oriented person, as well as you, if you are maybe someone who is very, who benefits from a linear approach, which is definitely place where I'm coming from, and you guys are going to see what that looks like here in just a bit. We'll get into some live help and Q&A here today as well. We do have some folks signed up for live work reviews. So as mentioned, we do have a pretty packed call. Excited to get into all this with you guys. So if you have questions today, whether they pertain to today's subject of discussion or not, I want to invite you to put those into the Q&A. Greg here on the call is the creator of the system. He's not just a founder, he writes the code. He knows how this stuff works because he kind of made it. So if you have questions, whether they pertain to this topic or not, definitely pop those into the Q&A and we'll be answering questions throughout the call. And of course, if you are watching this as a replay on YouTube in the future, that is where these all go. You can go to attractwell.com/office hours if you'd like to join us on a future live call like this one, get your questions answered. Again, you don't have to be an AttractWell user yet, but we certainly hope that you will give us a shot. We are $1 for your first month. If you'd like to work together live, as at least one person will be doing here on the call today, you can go to attractwell.com/work-review to request space on a call like this one. We do dedicate the second half of these calls to working together with you live. If you need a hand and you would like to just have somebody do this work for you, that's an option too. AttractWell.com/concierge is where you want to go to learn about our team, see the work that they've done, and schedule a no obligation call to see if working together might be a fit for your business. All right, so our use case today is our friend Tasha, who is an AttractWell member. She has a program where she is mentoring clients, and it is a monthly paid membership. Now, the first 30 days is a focus, but there is extending mentorship beyond that first 30 days. So what we're doing here is we're getting our clients started, and then we are getting them into this sequence, right, of calls, perhaps, of getting access to step-by-step information and working with them through to the goal of this mentorship program. So the requirements of this they begin with, of course, first accepting payment, right? So what we want to be able to do, and she was using another, I think it was several software programs previously. You want to first accept payment, and at the same time, we want to be able to have agreements signed before we can start accessing information and moving forward with the program. And then we want to be able to send an onboarding email after these things have happened, or at least at the point of payment. And then we want to get them access to their resources. In her case, she's got a checklist. She has a lot of written, printed links, etc., that she needs to be able to deliver alongside instructions. And that needs to take place over, sort of a set period of time. And then from here, we want to make sure that we can set up or allow access to any upcoming or future calls, because this is mentorship. There is going to be some interaction. And so we want to make sure that at specific intervals of this program, maybe after certain milestones are achieved or after certain periods of time, we want to make sure that our folks get access to us to be able to maybe book on our calendar, et cetera, to be able to get that benefit from the program. So let's start with accepting payment. That's at the top of our list. Of course, if you have a program that you're selling, that's the first thing that needs to happen. For somebody to be a client, they need to pay. So because this is a monthly mentorship, meaning the payments are broken up into monthly payments over the course of a period of time, this needs to take place on a Vault checkout page. Now, as of the time that we are filming right now, the only way to take recurring payments is via a Vault checkout page. So that means that this mentorship experience is something that she's going to want to set up inside a Vault. Now, a Vault is basically a specific structure inside of a password protected member area on your site. You can use a Vault for things like memberships, programs, private client dashboards, communities. Sky's the limit. It's a container that can hold things like discussion rooms, classes, and web pages that, again, are all private to people who have access to those vaults. Now, in her case, she's going to want to set up a vault in her member area that her mentorship clients would have access to. And of course, everything that they need for this mentorship program would need to live inside the vault. Now, the next thing that's really important is that we need to have agreements signed. Now, I did have a chance to chat with Tasha yesterday about the sort of scope of her program and the things that she needs done. And one of the things that she mentioned was really important to her, just based on the nature of the work. And the fact that it's possible that that there may be some group dynamic, et cetera. She wants to make sure before somebody purchases that they are the right fit. And so in order to do that, she's going to be on discovery calls, right? So generally speaking, if you're going to be getting on a discovery call to figure out if you and a potential client are a fit to work together, you're going to be able to prevent getting any of the wrong people, or at least as much as possible, any of the wrong people who aren't a fit into your programs, mentorships, memberships, et cetera. Now, you do have an opportunity while you are on a discovery call to go ahead and seal the deal, right? You can go ahead and just get somebody's agreement signed, payment taken, and you're off to the races. And if you are someone who is offering discovery calls, if you are someone who basically needs to screen clients as much as they need to screen you before they purchase, then I would recommend, if this is you, to really try to prioritize taking payment, closing the deal, and getting the agreements signed on the same call. If they're saying yes, if they're a yes, your best option is to just get this out of the way, right? And if for whatever reason you aren't closing on that same call, it's perfectly appropriate to set up a follow-up call where you can get them onboarded one-on-one. Now, depending on your price point, how you're operating your program, and the volume of people that you may be taking through your program, this just might not be a tenable option for you, right? You might need something that's a bit more leverage that doesn't require you being quite as present. So in that case, we have a couple of options. And the one that I would recommend here, which does require some of your time, but not very much, is for you to, inside of that vault, because remember, this is a monthly recurring membership, and so we're taking payment at the vault level anyway. Our content of what we're offering is going to be in an online class. Now, online classes in AttractWell aren't just for courses. You can use them for any type of sequentially guided experience that you want to create. So in her case, what we would want to do is to maybe create the first module, which is the getting started, the getting started module. And the lesson is, here's our welcome video. And here are the agreements you need to download, sign, and then upload to this page. Now you have the option inside of these online classes in AttractWell to require homework. And so in this case, that would mean download these agreements to your device and then upload those signed agreements to this same page. And then that could give them, that's if you require homework, if they cannot move ahead to the next lesson until they fill this out, upload it, and submit it to you. You also have the option to require instructor approval. So if you do that, that means that not only do they need to download, sign, and then upload these documents to that page, they need to wait for you to just go in and double check and make sure that they have in fact signed and uploaded the correct things the way that they needed to. And then from there, you can move them forward. Now, inside of those lessons where you're making those adjustments, you do have options to modify like an email that would go out on your behalf after they have successfully uploaded their homework, just maybe letting them know, I'll be back in touch with you within the next 24 hours. I just need to double check and make sure that this is all good, right? And then of course, once they are approved, a different email would go back out to them and you can modify those things inside of that individual lesson. And we can go take a look at what that looks like here in just a bit. By the way, we do have a course that goes through all of this in detail if you want to learn about this stuff at your own pace. Now, the final option, and this is for those of you who truly want to be hands-off and fully automated about this, if you are mentoring lots and lots and lots of people at the same time, and you just want to have the admin tasks out of your hand completely, what I would recommend is that you find an e-sign software, so some kind of agreement software that integrates with Zapier. Okay, and then you can use Zapier with AttractWell and using an automation, which is how we connect to Zapier, you can complete a lesson and thus unlock the next one after that zap is performed, right? So essentially what you would be doing is you would take your first agreement, you would put it into your e-sign software, you would create an automation in AttractWell that completes a lesson and unlocks the next one. You connect that to Zapier, and then you, of course, use Zapier to connect those two things together. So agreement A, automation A, connect those with Zapier. And then what I would do is actually, most of these e-sign softwares have a means of embedding the form that they're signing onto a website page. You can embed that into the lesson. Right? So you embed that in the lesson. Once they complete it, it's a seamless experience. They're automatically moved to that next lesson. In her case, she actually has several agreements. She's working with healthcare professionals on telehealth and things like that. So she actually needs a little bit more of a robust agreement than, say, having someone just simply check a box when they purchase, right? So in this case, where you have something more robust that's needed, if you want to be fully hands-off about it, that you can utilize a third party, typically paid e-signing software, and then you can utilize Zapier to create a seamless experience there in AttractWell. My recommendation the majority of the time is going to be this option number 2, where you have a PDF version, most likely, of your agreements, and you put those into the download section of your class lesson, and then you require homework and instructor approval. You double check that they've actually filled them both out and added them, and then you're off to the races after you just go in and check them off after you visually approved. If you're working with 10 or 20 people at a time, which I mean, most of us are not going to be working with more than 10 or 20 people at a time in a mentorship. That's a perfectly reasonable number to be able to go in and just double check, right? Or if you have someone who's a VA, they could do this as well and approve those lessons. So option number 2 here is my favorite where this is concerned. And honestly, guys, that really is the most complicated part of all of this. All right, we also need to send an onboarding email. So in order to send our onboarding email, we need to create a campaign. So a campaign is going to allow you to deliver a message automatically, right? So we create a campaign, and in that campaign, our day 0, that's right away, right after a purchase is completed, we're going to welcome them. We're also going to tell them to look for an additional email with a link to enter the vault and create their password. That is the system default welcome to vault campaign that is already attached to a vault when you create it. You really don't need to change it. Just use your campaign to tell them to look for that message, right? You could combine these together, but that would basically mean that you need to replicate a vault welcome campaign and then add your other messages to it. And sometimes when you have too much information in a single email, people miss a detail, right? But there are 2 important things you want to do, whatever it is you're doing in this welcome email, and click this link, right? Select this button right here, click this link, and go set up your password. So I actually recommend doing it this way, where you're just referencing that built-in welcome to vault campaign message that would also be going out on day 0 after they purchase. This also allows you to very easily include additional emails as needed. So if after day 0, we are, maybe going to share just a little bit more information, I would discourage you from putting too much into this campaign, because you want to be able to be responsive to your client based on the actions that they are taking as they're working with you. And a campaign is going to deliver this stuff regardless, right? So I would just have this one message that goes out. If you really feel like you need additional ones, then by all means, of course, you could add those. And this campaign, you're going to add to that point of purchase on your vault using an automation. So an automation is a feature in AttractWell that allows you to have multiple actions performed on a contact based on an action they take or an action that the system makes. So in this case, they're purchasing, that's the action. They're automatically, because it's attached to the vault, going to receive the built-in welcome to vault message, that campaign. This is going to allow them, using an automation, is going to allow them to receive that additional campaign from you, but also maybe to modify their tag, to remove a sales campaign that they may be on, add them to vault, and any other different kind of things that you may choose to include. So this onboarding email, we're going to create a campaign with one message. We're going to create an automation, and we're going to use that automation to add this email campaign to the point of purchase. And now once somebody has purchased, we've got our agreements, etc., we need to be able to give them access to what they paid for, right? So what we want to make sure we do, as I mentioned previously, is create a vault for this membership, for this mentorship membership program. We want to create a vault for this where they can log in to your website, to a private area where they can access what they've paid for. And the way that we're going to organize what they paid for is a class in AttractWell. Now, the setup for this class is going to be that the lessons are accessible after a number of days. Now, we've discussed the first lesson, or maybe the first 2 lessons, being the ones where we include our agreements, right? Where they cannot proceed to see any other content until they have signed and turned in those agreements and you've approved them, right? So those are the first lessons, or first lesson in your class. But because what she's doing is offering a membership, we don't want someone who leaves on day 29 to be able to access content that shouldn't be available to someone until they're at day 45, right? So as you are building out the steps and sort of access to what that looks like, do keep that in mind. Those milestones you're going to set up at different intervals, and they're going to be number of days past the point of purchase. Now, obviously, people do work at different speeds, but you're going to want to make sure that your online class that you put into this vault is one that whose information is spaced out, so that maybe the more advanced stuff is gated, right? You're in month 2 if you're going to be accessing that. Even if you're working slowly, maybe you can retain access to this 90-day program for 6 months, but you are not going to see day 45 until you're 45 days into this vault, right? So just make sure that you are setting access for that up. And of course, as you're setting this vault up, you do need to make sure that you are creating that vault checkout page where you will take payment. And then after they have provided payment, you can send them to a confirmation page that tells them to check their email. This is just a good standard practice. If somebody buys anything from you, if somebody opts in to receive anything from you, always send them to a confirmation page that says, I've sent you an email, go check it. There's a link in there for you to get what you asked for, right? So make sure that whatever it is that you're selling, right? If you're doing a program like Tasha is here, where it's a membership, or you're selling a one-off thing, make sure that your confirmation page is really clearly stating, this is what happens next. Now go do this. Okay, now another thing that we may choose to do, and this is going to be true in the case of Tasha's offer, is we need to make sure that the folks who are working with us are able to book calls with us or get on calls with us at specific intervals. So my recommendation would be, if you're using Calendly or Schedule Once or Acuity or whatever your scheduler of choice might be, all of those have the option to embed forms on website pages. And you're not just limited to pages to do this in AttractWell. You do have a code viewing option inside of your classes where you can embed forms, whether that be for an e-signing service like we were discussing with agreements previously, or if you want to maybe go ahead and embed a form for someone to book a call with you at this particular stage in the mentorship process, right? So maybe after 2 weeks in, they're able to set up their next booking with you. You can embed that right there on the lesson that, of course, is not available to them until day 14 or whenever it is that you set it up. And then you can also make sure if the person that you're mentoring needs to have completed a particular action or step, be sure that you're utilizing that instructor approval where necessary at intervals throughout that class, so that someone isn't maybe getting on your calendar too soon when they haven't performed the work that they were supposed to do in order for that call to be a productive one. Okay. So some additional considerations that you want to make if you have a setup like this one. Again, this is a monthly payment mentorship program that we are using as an example here. What I want to encourage you to do here first is to make sure that that class that you're building, that class really is going to be the central hub of the value you are delivering, right? It's going to have the sequential order. It's going to have everything that they need to do. And it's going to be able to do the heavy lifting where automation is concerned here, to guide your customer through the steps they need to follow to achieve the outcome that they want. And there is going to be an insertion of interaction with you as you design it throughout that program, or it can be something that's completely leveraged that you're hands off about, right? If this is something more like a course. So build out that class, making sure that the dates are set up correctly, like number of days. If this is a live program that you're doing that has a very specific start and end date, this can be date-based, calendar date-based, as opposed to day interval-based, which is what we've been discussing. And then, of course, make use of those instructor approval or homework required options to make sure that people aren't just blowing through and consuming content without going and implementing the steps that you're prescribing in your course or program, right? So what we're doing here is we are creating a curated experience using that class to gate access to information as it's needed, right? Okay, so let's go and see this in action in AttractWell. And Tasha, it looks like you're here. I'm going to bring you out to chat. Hey, can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you.
Okay, awesome. I hope you were able to get all of that. Let me know if you have any questions, just kind of based on what we've discussed here on the call so far.
Oh no, that was very, very helpful, the information. So I'm just writing down my process steps.
Okay, excellent. So I wanted to first, I mean, I've kind of gone through, I think I've hit most of the points that we discussed previously, but I
Mhm.
wanted to kind of quickly show, and I'm using, let me show this real quick. So you guys have probably seen this before. This is Freeform on a Mac, and what I've done, it's a free software if you have a Mac machine. You can do something very similar to this in Canva, and free Canva actually has a whiteboard feature that works very similarly to this.
Mhm.
But essentially what I do here when I'm designing something is I just kind of assign like a color and shape to the different aspects of AttractWell, such as automation tag, landing page, campaign, vault, chat room, and online class. And in your case, what I may do is take this a step further and actually designate maybe what a lesson looks like. So this would be a class lesson, and I'll change the color up here as well. So then what we would do in this case, and let me just kind of zoom out so we've got a big picture here. If you are a sort of a visual person, what I would do is actually create the system here. So if you have a discovery call, we're going to be sending them to a Vault checkout page, and this is going to be attached to our Vault. Our Vault is this big purple guy here. And so you can actually just kind of put our shapes next to each other and just kind of name them so that you can see what they are, right? So I'm actually going to maybe increase here this. So this is going to be our Vault checkout page. This is going to be our Vault. And our Vault itself is going to have, Tasha, do you plan to have interaction between people who are being mentored by you, or is this simply going to be them accessing materials and maybe getting on calls with you?
Yeah, there'll be weekly accountability, and
Okay.
there'll be some in between each weekly accountability call. The way I have it set up now, without the vault, is that once they're onboarded, I set up a project plan on Monday.
Okay.
But I can, I really would like everything in one place. So if I can kind of, figure out maybe a to-do list, or like you said, the course, create a course with the action steps. Um, and then when they get on a call with me, we go through the different milestones for the month, because
Hmm.
it's the 120-day mentorship where they're opening up a telehealth practice. And so there's some milestones for the first 30 days. And so weekly, we're just kind of going through the major milestones and seeing how far ahead they're getting with their development, the business development milestones, which the initial ones. So they'll have a course set up with the lessons or the action steps and the resources inside the vault. And I would like to set it up so that they can set up the weekly calls inside the vault, I guess.
Hmm. Okay, yeah, no, that's definitely doable. So I'm just going to set up that initial structure that we discussed. So
Okay.
these are campaign messages, and there's an automation that's going to be applying one of these. So this is the built-in, let me just zoom back in here. This is
Okay.
the built-in welcome to Vault campaign. And I'll show you
Okay.
where that is in just a moment. And this is just going to be that welcome to program campaign. So it's just that single message one, maybe setting expectations, et cetera, and telling them that this other one is coming. So they're going to check out on this page after they've had a call with you, or perhaps while they're on a call with you. And then once they're inside of the vault, so this vault checkout page is going to add them to the vault automatically. And it often does actually reroute them to a, we actually do get to set that up. I'm going to move this over and just go ahead and create a confirmation page and pop that in between here as well, since we've discussed that here. So this is going to be a confirmation page that sets expectations after they've purchased. And then these campaigns are being applied to the contact in between here. This one, this welcome to Vault, is actually going to allow them to go log in over here. So once they're in the vault, we've got the online class is the next thing we're going to actually kind of visually break down. And it's going to be a bit bigger of a thing than we could do here, because we're talking about, you know, mapping out 120 days worth of content, but I will kind of go through those initial examples. If you want to have like the call schedule, the Zoom link, the replays, if you're offering them, you can actually do that on a page that lives in your vault. And so long as somebody has paid access and can log into your vault, they're able to see this. And you do have the ability as well to what I would do, since this is a recurring membership model that is like it's 120 days for the person who's in it, but people, it sounds like, are going to be entering it at different dates and times, right? So it's not like everybody. Yeah. So so I would actually be, when I'm sending reminders for this, for instance, I would actually be going to the people who have access to the vault, and I'll show you where to find that here in a moment, and just scheduling those reminder emails. Maybe doing that once, you know, every month or two, and it's always going to reach the people who have access to the vault if you do it the way I'll show you. But this page right here, we have a template for this that we've talked about in several of our other trainings about memberships and vaults that have live calls. So having something like this would be really helpful. You can put the schedule there. You can even create a calendar link that they can click, and it'll add a reminder and the Zoom link, all of that to their calendar. So you can actually have that in here, and then you can have the discussion room in here as well. And so this is really the basic structure of what that looks like. All of the other emails that you send are going to be those that you actually just filter for the people who have access to this vault, and you're just going to be sending that out to them. Now, breaking down this online class and its lessons, let's actually just take that down here. I wish that the text on this got bigger as you, yeah, here we go. All right, so our lessons here in the online class are going to be, importantly, the first ones are going to be those ones like we discussed before, where you've got, our day 0 is going to be maybe a welcome video or message, and it's going to have downloads, agreement 1, agreement 2, right? And this is going to be require instructor approval and require homework, right? And then, day 1 or whatever. So basically you're just kind of deciding, like, after somebody completes this, what do they have access to next, and how do you want to sequentially gate that out? I would encourage both of, like, so the first content, like, here are the steps that you follow. I would encourage you to make that day 0 as well, because obviously if they're going to go in, they're on top of their stuff and they're getting these agreements out of the way, they're ready to dive into what's next. And we don't want them to, like, sit around and arbitrarily wait 24 hours to be able to get into the content. So so this would be our content, right? So this is going to be maybe an initial step, right? Or set of steps, etc. And then you're just going to kind of repeat. And I know that because you are billing on a monthly basis, you do want to be, again, super mindful about what all you are including. It could be that, obviously we've got we've got our day 0, and maybe we just go ahead and open up the first 5 steps on day 0. They just have to complete this one before they can access them. And then, the next set of ones that you offer are the next week, right? So weekly, I'm going to open up new steps, right? So this
Okay.
week's steps, and that's just an option.
Mhm.
And again, you could have multiples of these just to keep them, keep it simple for them in terms of their experience. And again, you can break that down 14, 21, etc. Right? Yeah. So this is how I would set up the class. And so in these, you can have video, you could have links, you can have steps, but you can also go and embed. So let's just say, for instance, we want to allow this person to, this is a milestone. And this is, maybe it's instructor approval. Homework required. You need to see something from them. Maybe you've got discussion enabled on this one. Maybe there's something that they need to put into the chat for accountability on this particular lesson. And then only after they complete this lesson are they able to maybe hop on if maybe it's a private call with you, etc. Right? So,
Right.
right. So day 8, or we'll say that's day 7 as well, if they unlock the one before book one-on-one, right? So you can keep this going throughout the entirety of the 120 days, however you want to set those intervals up. So
Okay.
the setup of the online class really is going to be the most complicated part of it. If you were to like the option that I mentioned previously for our initial onboarding for agreements, this could also be a embed third-party sign form, right? And then we're going to use an automation here. And this automation is going to, after they have completed this, because you're using Zapier for it, it would then automatically move them to that next step. You wouldn't have to worry about instructor approval,
Okay.
right? Does that make sense?
Yep.
Awesome. Awesome. All right. So let's go take a look real quick. I want to show you some of the things that I'm talking about, namely in the class setup. Now, is the class that you have in here already, is that related to this program, this AI
No,
one?
that's a new thing. That's the AI. That's connected to the niche navigator tool, my lead magnet.
Got you. Okay. Okay,
Yes.
cool. So we'll just pretend we're setting up a new
Okay.
one. Yeah. So so we would set up this class. This is our mentorship program. We're going to do after number of days, and then we
Okay.
can start adding content. So we'll add a lesson, and this is going to be welcome and agreements. And then here we would be able to, give instructions. If you have downloadable forms, you put them here. You can, let me see, you're going to be able to do this on the other. I'll show you what this looks like in a second. But if you
Okay.
wanted to embed a form, so this could be embedding a booking form for a later lesson. This could also be like a DocuSign type form if you wanted to embed
Gotcha.
that here as well. You're going to click the 3 dots here, click code view, and then anywhere around where this little break is, you can just hit enter, or you could hit enter before it, or you could just delete the break. And then you just paste whatever that code is. Or my favorite cheat code to embedding a third-party code is to just pretend like you're adding a video.
Oh.
Yeah, you don't even have to worry about whether or not you're messing up code. Add a video, then just go to embed code, paste the code here. It doesn't have to be video. Just paste the code here.
Okay.
And then click use
Okay.
embed code, and it'll pop it right in here. Right. So if you wanted to go more advanced, you could do that, or you could just give them instructions. Check out the download section on this lesson, download the forms, read them, sign them, and then upload them. Right. And then what you do is here we can, let me see. Well, that's in order. Okay. So we'll require approval, require homework, etc. Right?
See.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, then you go and you continue on adding those lessons as you want to have
Perfect.
them.
So they won't be able
right?
to go to the next until I approve that that first step.
That's right. Yeah. If
Okay.
instructor approval is required, then they're not going to be able to progress on a lesson. So
Okay.
if you are going to be incorporating your agreements into the first lessons of this class, then you're going to want to make sure that they have that require instructor approval connected,
Okay.
right?
Perfect.
And then of course you'll want to put that inside of a vault. And we don't have one for that yet. And I'm just going to create one. Obviously, you can delete these after we're done with the
Okay.
example here, but
Okay.
this will be the mentorship program.
Mhm.
We will add our content to it. Obviously, you'll want to brand it, etc. But we'll add our class, and that's our existing class mentorship program. Once you have the maybe the template in place for the live calls and replays page, you can pop that in here. You can also put your discussion room in here. All of that is under the content. But importantly, under entry settings here, we have
Mhm.
this system default welcome to vault message. Totally
Okay.
fine to leave that there. Don't have to do anything with that. But we do need to go ahead and set up our payment. So we'll require payment for this. And then we will, of course, set up, we're going to be using Stripe. We'll add a plan. So this is going to be a monthly, so we're going to call this mentorship.
Okay.
This is going to be recurring payments. It's going to be, $297 a month.
Mhm.
And let's see. Yeah, and then we'll go in, and if you want to add anything additional to it, you can. But that campaign that I mentioned previously, like that
Mhm. Mhm.
additional, I want to send you like a welcome or maybe a series of emails. That is something, and probably should have done that first. Here, let me come over here and show you. If we go create our welcome to
Mentor.
mentorship.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm
Gotcha.
going to call this a welcome to mentorship and create that. Obviously, let's pretend that we've put a message in here welcoming them. And then we're going to create an automation that applies this campaign. And we can have it do other things as well. That's kind of the cool thing about automations. What I might do here additionally is here. So this is going to be mentorship, and maybe this is new client. All right, so I'm going to maybe go ahead and add a tag to them.
Okay.
New client. Maybe I'm going to remove the tag lead. So this is where we can just kind of clean up all of our stuff here. I'm going to add that welcome campaign. Welcome to mentorship campaign. And then if I have a sales campaign, let's just pretend that it is this.
Okay.
Yeah, this one. Yeah, we'll pretend like it's this one. Oops, that's an ad. Let me fix that. I'm going to remove that one. So if you have a sales campaign that's leading up to this point, then we want to remove the campaign, that campaign that we had previously. So remove. Yeah, so we'll use this automation. And then
Oh, okay. Okay.
yeah, and so then we can have all of that attached here. And this gets really interesting if you, and I know that's not the case for yours, but if you had maybe different payment levels, right? If you had a basic and a VIP, et
Mhm.
cetera, then if this is our, our mentorship basic, then we're going to just go grab that automation, but maybe you have a slightly different one that gives access to a private call with you right away in this campaign that's attached to this automation. That could be for the VIP version, but you're using the same vault, right? So that's where these automations really get to be
Oh, I see.
compelling. Yeah.
Okay.
So this is going to be your recurring payments. And of course, you don't really have to do the tags thing because our automation's doing that for us.
I see.
You put your basic plan in there if you ever decided that you wanted to offer a coupon code for this, then this might be mentorship basic, but maybe the plan is $197, and that's going to maybe be our friends code.
Okay.
And so if somebody adds the code friends, it's going to change the price to that, et cetera. And so that's essentially what that would look like. So when
Oh, okay.
you get this done, you're going to grab this view checkout page link, and I'm going to copy this, and actually need to open a private window to show you this because I'm logged into your account. And we don't have anything on this page, but you will.
Okay.
Here, let me see. Okay, the vault is enabled. The payment is set up. I'm gonna, maybe I didn't save it. That's why. Okay. I'm gonna switch my share over here so you can see. Well, I don't know why that's not working for me in my private one, but basically what's going to happen here is that this now becomes oh, here, anyone with a link. Hello. All right. So, all right. So if I go here and I copy this link, and I'm going to try this again, open in a new private window and show you guys, then you'll be able to see this. Awesome. Yeah. So we don't have anything over here just yet, because obviously it's information you would want to fill out. But you know, this would be how you have it set up. So there's a mentorship basic.
Okay.
If we add the code friends, then they now have the, you know, the 197 option, right? And so then once they get in, then, you know, you have, you know, all of that stuff is automated. Everything that you need is basically there. You will want to make sure in your vault contents, you know, that maybe when you're setting this up, like in the vault itself, you're telling them, you know, click the modules below, name them modules, click modules below to get started. You know, and, you know, if you want to learn more about our upcoming calls, click that page, et cetera. So like you basically just make sure that you are using your copy to really kind of spell out expectations so that people are clear about where to go and what to do. But otherwise, you know, this would basically cover all of the bases for how they're being communicated with. But then the final step, and this is, you know, since you are going to be offering those recurring live calls, so there's no contacts here. I'm not going to click this because I know that there's, you know, it's probably actually someone's information. But when you want to schedule the emails that'll go out, the reminders for those calls, you're going to click here, and that's going to give you your list of people, and then you can go to send them a message, right? And you could schedule that, you know, schedule this week's, schedule next week's. Like I would just basically go through and use a saved reply because it's got everything pre-written with links and everything. It's formatted. Just drop a saved reply in and do that for the next 6 calls. So you aren't having to worry about, you know, remembering to send that reminder every week. Just make sure that, you know, every 6 weeks you need to go in and do that work.
Gotcha.
Awesome.
Perfect.
Yeah. Do you have any other questions?
No, I just wanted to just visualize that process. So that helped me a lot. That helped a lot. So that's awesome.
Good. Thank you so much for being willing to come out, and yeah, excited to see where you go with this.
Absolutely. I have another mentorship coming up, so there'll be automated things.
Oh, fantastic. Glad to
Yes.
hear it. All right. Thanks for coming out. Okay, I do have, and thank you so much for your patience. I know this is a really big topic. So Angeline, you're here. I'm going to go ahead and bring you out. I'm excited to chat with you. And I do see that we have a couple of questions in the Q&A. Rick, you asked, how can I use AI within AttractWell for creating courses? We actually have an entire training on that. And so if you go into the Success Academy to live calls and replays, and you just search AI, and I think we have an AI playlist. We actually have an AI course creator tool. You can also use Write with AI to ideate sort of what a course looks like. Lots of great stuff there. Hey, Angeline, how can we help?
Hi, so I have finally gotten my website to be public facing, and everything's transferred over from Wix. And in doing that, it helped me to get all of the language together for now going back and finishing up the the funnel challenge. And so when we spoke last, the program that I created was a bit long and extensive. And so I don't think I'm going to lead with that. So what I'd like for you to do is look at my business strategy coaching page. And
Okay.
I want to show you what I would like to have as part of my funnel and ask you questions about it. One particular question.
Yeah, absolutely. Here we go. Got the right share here now. Yeah, okay. So is this going to be work with me?
Yes, ma'am. Yep, there you go, on the one-on-one.
Okay.
So if you scroll down a bit, what is sort of unique with mine is that I'm doing themed packages. So all the way down, you'll be able to see the 3 packages that I'm starting with, because I have
Okay.
quite a few themes. I want to get focused with the one-on-one. So the first one here is more flexible, where it's just strategic planning and they can identify what their goals are throughout the business. The second is financial management. So that's the theme, that's the area that we would be working within in the coaching. And then the third is streamlining their processes and their operations. And so I'm trying to figure out whether or not I should just go with the strategic planning one, or do you see a way that I can highlight the theme aspect of the one-on-one coaching in the entire funnel without having to drill down to each individual, but at a higher level, explain the idea of the options?
Yeah. So I would, you are very thorough, and I think that the extent of information that you're sharing here really, it ought to live behind a wall of qualification.
Okay, now I do have, if you scroll up a little further, I do have sort of, just in case this is what you're referring to, this right here is where I'm explaining them in a little more of a paragraph instead of the detail. So
Okay.
when you say a wall of communication, do you mean that I shouldn't have that much detail on the page?
Yes.
Or
Yeah.
now, is this for the funnel or just for the website, period?
I mean, I would say, so you're offering and ultimately selling these offers on strategy calls, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So I would not put it anywhere on a
I-
page that is navigable publicly. So
Okay.
yeah. So because what you want to do is make sure that people aren't going into this call with their mind made up, thinking that they
Okay.
know everything about the value they'll receive from you.
Okay.
My recommendation would be to really focus on the solving of a problem. So we know that comprehensive strategic planning is how you achieve the goal for long-term success. But depending on the type of business that you're speaking to, or maybe the stage that they're at in their growth, there are a couple of key things that they want to have done. So so you want to maybe hit on that. So I could give you an example. There's some offers that I used to make a long time ago, very specifically focusing on people in the healing profession and naturopaths and doctors and stuff like that. We would have an initial level of offering that we called Fill My Practice, right? So this is for the person who just needs to get new people in the door. We had another level up from that that was maybe more about leveraging different marketing strategies to kind of go next level with the practice. Basically what we're doing at that level is we're adding income streams. So this next level, we, for lack of better term, we would call level up the practice. And then at the third and final level, we are talking about exit strategies, right? So first level is where most people are going to be. That's going to focus on problems most businesses have that are very familiar to them. And that's going to be obviously a leveraged lower cost offering. The middle one is going to be something that is, a few $1,000s, maybe it's group coaching. And then that top one, that's going to be, $20,000 a year. And you need to have been through one of those other programs as a prerequisite, right? But listen, I just told you all of that.
No,
Zero.
I actually have,
0% of any of that
Mhm.
information, 0%
Oh,
is on a marketing
okay,
website. Zero.
gotcha.
The
Okay,
only way that you learn about those things is after we have a conversation and I'm able to suss out in a conversation with you what your goals are, what your systems are, what your income looks like on a monthly basis as a business, what your commitment level is, all of that. And then and only then do I say, well, here's an option for you. And I'm typically going for that one in the middle, right?
right.
Unless it just sounds like it's somebody who's not going to be able to afford it. But if I go for the one in the middle, I can sell the one underneath it if they push back and say that that's not the one. So the reason
Okay.
why you don't want to just put everything out there before they're even able to talk with you is because you could have people, you know, doing their research ahead of time, which they will do if it's made available to them, and then just going in deciding that they've already shopped and they are, you know, either trying to figure out how they get to say no, right? Or, you know, they're wanting to maybe have a different conversation than one is truly productive that you can lead as a professional. So
Okay.
you're kind of causing the potential customer to feel like they're more educated in you and what you can
Okay.
do than they actually are. Does that make sense?
It does. And I have all of that language that you're referring to, that's on the website in terms of their, so it's startup scaling, it's startup stabilizing and scaling. Those are the
Mhm.
three areas that I'm looking at for service-based solopreneurs. Um, and so I guess I understand what you're saying, but I'm trying to figure out if I'm missing something in terms of, so I know what I should take away, but if you think there's something I need to be adding based on what I have.
Yeah. So what I would maybe consider doing here is a little bit of branding. So that way you can provide a name and maybe even some kind of a visual identifier just to kind of break up the text a little bit for the
Mhm.
different levels or stages. And so instead of calling it this or calling it this or calling it this, we're creating something that's representative. I've seen this done. Aaron Flesher does this really well, where it's sort of like a pyramid, right? And at the base level of the pyramid, if you're selling to a business, like your income is this much, your this is that much, and like here are your metrics, right? This is representative of who you are. But then there's this next
Mhm.
level up, right? And so, and I'm not saying you necessarily need to create like a pyramidal structure here, but because you are kind of speaking to someone, I think, who could absolutely be at the sort of base level, like the majority of people are not, doing well in all of these areas, but they can graduate up to
Mhm.
the higher levels. I
Mhm.
think that there's a way to, kind of construct a narrative here that like I help people at different stage of the journey. Which one are you? Right? And then you say, I'm this, I'm this, I'm this. And then potentially you could from there maybe send them to another page that kind of pitches a call with you from that perspective,
Mhm. So
right?
I have, because I've played around with all of those concepts. And so I'm glad you're mentioning this because I do have a 3 package where it starts at a Kickstarter and then there's the middle where it's just starting the pathway and then there's the comprehensive. And they're all, one can build on the other, but it depends on where you are. So it's exactly what you just described. What my challenge was with that is whether or not the value I was adding had to do with the number of sessions, or can they all still have the same number of sessions?
Oh
Because
gosh, yeah.
I was challenged with the idea of the price needs to be commensurate with the duration. And that's why I ended up with 3 different packages with the same duration.
Yeah.
That makes
So
sense. So,
maybe think about it like this. You could be a health coach, you could
mhm,
be a nutritionist, or you could be a doctor, right? And these are all different sort of degrees of expertise, right? A
mhm,
graduated level of degrees of study and expertise. But in
mhm,
your instance, you are all of those. You could just wear a different hat for different stages. So when
mhm,
you think about delivering value, it's not commensurate with your time, because we're not doing a time for money exchange. We're doing a value for
mhm,
money exchange. And so someone who isn't ready to receive the kind of information that's here because they don't have the prerequisites in place, you know, sure, they could pay this right now, but like they aren't ready for that, right? Um, they need to go through these stages first. Your value that you're offering, you could offer 6 calls for each of these. It's the value of what's being offered on those calls. You're offering basic information on these calls. You're offering above basic information on these calls, and you're offering highly specialized, individualized information on these calls. It's a value ladder as opposed to, you know, if they pay this, they get this much of your time.
Yeah, I was thinking about that from the perspective of the more detailed, the longer it would take, not necessarily because of the time, but because of how much information there is. So the value is still with the complexity of the information, but the time that it would take to deliver it. Yeah, okay, boy. So back to the drawing board. Oh my God.
Honestly,
Okay.
where it comes to what you're putting, I love this logo, by the way.
Thank you.
Yeah, the what I would encourage you to do is just to edit down. You've got all this figured out.
Yeah, I
It's
mean, believe it or not, Ashley, that is still the mid-level right there. I literally have like each session mapped out. So I didn't put that much on there. But
okay, yeah.
so, okay. So what you're saying too, that's the other thing. I'm going back and forth about putting prices on the websites as well. So I'm hearing some say don't, I'm hearing some say do, because I can weed out the tire kickers and, you know, really, so I'm really at a disadvantage of knowing what to do there because I've never published my prices
So
with my
it really depends on who you're serving. If you are, it really depends, right? I think
Okay.
that there's the reason why I would encourage someone to not publish prices is not out of an interest to remove transparency from the situation.
Right.
It would be very akin to what I mentioned previously. You don't want to have somebody hopping onto a call to take up time with you who already has their mind made up, right? If
Okay.
somebody is going to get on a strategy call with you, they need to have their mind open,
Okay.
right? And what you're able to do if you're conducting the call in the right way is to kind of pare back all of the preconceived notions and have the two of you enter into a space together where you are really speaking candidly about where they are, what their goals are, why they haven't hit them, and then of course what they're actually open to doing. And then you have
Okay.
the opportunity, and it's really only in a conversation like that, because so many of
Okay.
us have, I mean, just I can think of so many examples over the course of my own career in selling coaching packages and things like that, where someone who, you know, maybe went into something thinking that they are absolutely ready, they needed the rudimentary steps. Like, so that's a downsell. Like, I don't want your money for the big stuff,
But
right?
yes, right.
Or sometimes even more often, they were so caught up in judging themselves based on, you know, comparison to the highlight reel of other businesses they see on Instagram or whatever. They came in so believing that they were lacking that they didn't actually realize that they had, like, that they were in exactly the right place, and they did extraordinarily well with, you know, the level of coaching package that they might not have if they saw the details ahead of time considered for themselves, right? So you, as the expert, have the ability to determine in a conversation with someone, if we're conducting it the right way, whether or not they're a fit for what you're doing. And the decision making points that some people use, such as what is the price, you'd be blown away at how budget really isn't that big of a factor when somebody realizes, and in your case, you're selling to business, you're talking ROI, budgets appear, business credit exists, and sometimes that investment is worth 5 times what you put into it. So that's like my TED talk there on not publishing prices. Yeah,
I would
that's why
prefer
I don't
not
do it.
to, because I'm
Yeah.
still playing around with them. So that is encouraging. Okay, great.
Yeah.
And then if you scroll down further down, there is a section that gives examples of the ROI for the programs, and I can actually use those examples down further. I can use those examples. Here they are. So these are examples of what I would be working with clients with in terms of anything that I would want to work with them for. So for example, the current situation, the proposed solution, and then I'm getting to how they can see the benefit of the program from an ROI perspective.
Excellent.
You think that's too much information? Is that something that I should be sharing in a discovery call?
I honestly think that Work With Me needs to point to some of this information, and then the
Okay.
call to action needs to be the discovery call. And should
Okay.
they want to evaluate and read in detail after they get off a
Gotcha.
discovery call to make a decision, send them to this page.
Okay. And then one other thing. So based on what you just said, because I have all these things in my hat, would it make sense to just focus on the key performance indicators which is in the funnel challenge, because I can speak to how monitoring your progress, no matter what you're trying to do, is universal to get them to understand it. And that's what my lead magnet is 15 PI examples for service-based businesses. Then I can assess which package might be good for them based on the packages that I've already developed.
Yeah.
Does that make
Yes.
sense?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, and maybe very specifically, because the KPIs are a big part. Or I hope you're wording it slightly differently for
Yes.
especially
Oh,
for
yeah.
the newbies. But
Absolutely.
so the lead magnet is, here are the KPIs. The promise of value on, and the reason why they get on a discovery call is they get to discuss KPIs and whether or not they're on the right track with them on a free call with you. And you take
Okay.
in all the intake information, right? What are your sales like? What's your this? What's your that? Like, you get all that information, and that's going to prep you for being able to go into a call help, like being able to say, have you considered this? You know,
I can
maybe shifting.
diagnose.
Exactly. And then
Okay.
you're going to know on, like, maybe just going right into it, that, hey, you know what? It looks like this is somebody who, you know, it looks like this, but you can't always predict. I can't tell you how many times I've
Right.
seen, you know, someone going into a call where I'm like, oh man, I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe
I've done
I
it
just
with
need to send them
these
to a
comments.
course.
Yes, I've
Yeah.
done. This is very helpful. I mean, I don't think I wasted my time because I've done all the
Oh
back end
no.
work in the beginning. So
Yeah, no,
so
this is not a
back
waste of time.
okay.
No, I
Thank
really think that, like, if you send people to Work With Me, and you are pointing them to a page that just talks about, like, you know, here, book a call with me, we're going to go over these KPIs, and then these are kind of case studies, just position these as case studies further down the page, and all of the call to action is, get on a call with me, get on a call with me, get on a call with me. And then
Okay.
after that call, if they feel like they want to read more and understand more, then you send them to this incredibly detailed page that you've created, and they can read their heart out.
Fine. Okay. And then one final question based on what we're talking about. So with your formula for the funnel challenge, in that case, I'm not necessarily selling a program or a package, am I? And
Oh,
if
you
that's
are. You're
right now,
selling, yeah. Oh yeah, you're determining on that discovery call with this potential client, you're determining which of the packages or programs are appropriate for them and offering them to them.
No, what I mean is on the, you know how on the funnel challenge, we have the exercises of giving the output, the value and all of that on each, you know, on each phase and all of that. So that
Oh, right.
I've
Like,
fixated on is what,
understood.
and so
Yeah.
how does that translate with the funnel challenge? Or should I just not be so fixated on that structure and figure out how I can present that in a funnel?
Well, I think because the fact that is that you're offering 3 programs, you could, in theory, for each of those 3 levels, create a sales page like this one, where you break down that particular levels. Here's the currency, here's the timeline, here's the message, all of that stuff that we talk about in the funnel challenge. You could do that for each of those three things. I don't think that it would be the best use of your time to create all of those pages, because you're not going to accept someone into one of those programs if you haven't talked to them. So just have the call and then offer them the thing. Now, maybe you know, if you do something like that, obviously you would want to make sure this page maybe differentiates between the different offers. The utility of having the three separate pages would be to narrow focus, right? So if you did say, all right, you know, based on what you've shared with me, this is what I believe would be best. You don't necessarily want to send them to a place where you're saying, I want you to, you know, have offer B, but the page talks about A and C also, right? So there is a case to be made for having a resource of information, and it can be a page, it could be a PDF, it could be an email that outlines this. It doesn't matter, so long as it's something that just, you know, includes the details. Because again, all of this information, all of this dialogue, this is stuff that you're really covering on a discovery call.
Right. I'm thinking about the funnel challenge though, because I'm going to revamp the website based on your suggestions, because I agree. But now I'm back on all of that detail in the funnel challenge of outlining and mapping and all of that
For your program.
If I'm just giving them on a discovery call and I'm not trying to give them the detail, then is there a different kind of funnel that I should focus on, rather than, in other words, does the funnel challenge you have fit with what we talked about? We're just focusing on the KPIs using, you know, layman's language.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And with the funnel challenge, the tool, like a sales page isn't even like, you need a place to take payment for what you're selling, but you don't even have to have a sales page for the client funnel challenge. That's sort of like a bonus thing. You could have a sales page, or you could have a PDF that outlines the offer, or like I mentioned, even lower tech, you could have an email that outlines the offer. Because the way the client funnel challenge is set up is you're collecting leads who are interested in a particular topic, and you figure if they're interested in that topic, they would be interested in a conversation about the topic's implications, right? So if that's, you know, you've got a KPI focused lead magnet, then you are you know, you're talking about like really digging into their personal key performance indicators and creating a plan for those on a call. And that's your compelling offer to get them on a call.
So in other words, just sell the call.
Yes, sell the call.
Let me assess what your KPIs can be. And here's a lead magnet of 15 KPIs for service-based businesses. And if you want to talk more, I can talk with you through your specific situation. And then that's when I start the coaching.
That's right. Your funnel campaign is selling the call. That's the way that the client funnel challenge works. Is you create your funnel. It's offering this thing on this topic. If they're interested in that topic, they're probably interested in this conversation, and you are selling that conversation. Sell the call, sell the call, sell the call. And then on the call, you determine which of these things that you sell.
Okay. So so in other words, I can sort of, I need to fit what you have described in that, where I'm not going so deeply into I think I have it. I'm sorry. I just get so focused.
Oh, you're good.
That client funnel challenge is so detailed, and it just doesn't fit what I'm trying to do. And I keep trying to make it fit, and I'm getting lost. So
yeah, just don't forget that the whole goal here is to get as many people as possible who are like, oh yeah, key performance indicators for a small business. I have a small business and I don't really understand some of these concepts. This lady seems like she knows what she's talking about. I want to learn from her. And so they download, and then they see on the next page, this is the authority page. The authority page says, you know, hey, if you're interested in these indicators, you know, it might really benefit you to hop on a call with me. Hop on a call with me, hop on a call with me. And then your email campaign is talking about maybe some of these case studies, or maybe even better, like, you know, I had a client who thought they were this, and then we worked together, and then they were that, and then here's how they, you know, you share some case studies. At no point in that campaign are you sending them to a sales page. you are always sending them to that book a call page with you, because the whole goal
Okay.
of the client funnel challenge, if you sell on calls, is for you to get people onto a call. And a sales page is only going to have utility for you in this sort of scheme
Mhm.
if you have made the offer and the person just wants to see a page that
See
reiterates
more.
everything you talked
Okay.
about.
So I can take it offline and just give them the link and go
Mhm.
from.
Yeah,
Okay,
you could use
perfect.
like buy link only, and then it's something that you can send to them if they request more information after a call with
Okay.
you. Yeah,
Wonderful. Okay, thank you. I know I take up so much of your time, but
you're good.
after I get it in my head, I'm good. So thank you so much. I really appreciate your time and your help.
Absolutely. And thank you for coming out. You're always welcome to come back. I'm excited to see where this
Thank
goes.
you. Thanks.
Of course.
Bye.
All right. Thank you guys so much for sticking around, for all of your fantastic questions, and of course, for being willing to share your great work. We really are so proud of you guys. You should be proud of yourselves. If there's something you would like to learn about, or maybe something you want to explore together on a call like this one, let us know. We have an amazing Facebook group, an incredible community there. Come see us there, come meet each other, and we will be back here same time next week. Have a great week, everybody.